remembering. Samhita Sundaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, titled Collide, based upon daughter devotees. Text number
9.
Vimunchanati
Shanti
Yada
Yada
Kamam Vimunchanati Yada Kamam
Vimunchanti Yada Kamam
Manavo Manasi
Sitam
Manavo Manasi Sitam
Namo Manasi Sitam
Tahi
Tahi
Eva
Eva
Pundarikaksha
Pundarikasya
Tahiva Pundarikaksha
Tahiva Pundarikasya
Bhagavattvaya
Bhagavataya
Kalpate
Kalpate
Bhagavattvaya Kalpate
Bhagavataya Kalpate
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Manavo Manasi Stitam
Manavo Manasi Sitam
Tahiva Pundarikaksha
Tahiva Pundarikasya
Bhagavattvaya Kalpate
Bhagavataya Kalpate
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Manavo Manasi Stitam
Manavo Manasi Sitam
Tahiva Pundarikaksha
Tahiva Pundarikasya
Bhagavattvaya Kalpate
Bhagavataya Kalpate
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Vimunciti Yadakamam
Manavo Manasi Stitam
Manavo Manasi Sitam
Tahiva Pundarikaksha
Tahiva Pundarikasya
Bhagavattvaya Kalpate
Bhagavataya Kalpate Vimunciti Yadakamam Vimunciti Yadakamam Manavo Manasi Sitam Tahiva Pundarikasya Tahiva Pundarikasya Bhagavataya Kalpate Vimunciti Yadakamam Manavo Manasi Sitam Tahiva Pundarikasya Bhagavataya Kalpate Vimunciti Yadakamam Manavo Manasi Sitam Tahiva Pundarikasya Bhagavataya Kalpate Vimunciti Yadakamam Manavo Manasi Sitam Tahiva Pundarikasya Bhagavataya Kalpate
Vimunciti Yada
Kamam
Om Shivaya
Om Shivaya
Manava
Manava
Human Society Manasi
Manasi
Same Mind Sitam
Sitam
Situated Tahi Same
Tahiva
Deva
Deva
Indeed Pundarikaksha
Pundarikasya
all the side of God
all the time
Bhagavattvaya
Bhagavataya
to be equally as often as the Lord
equally as often as the Lord
Kalpate
Kalpate
becomes eligible.
comes eligible.
Translation. My Lord, when a human being is able to give up material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth that all can use. Please repeat, O my Lord. And a human being
And a human being
is able to give up
is able to give up
all the material desires of his mind.
all the material desires in his mind.
He becomes eligible
He becomes eligible
to possess wealth and opulence like yours.
to possess wealth and opulence like these.
Atheistic men sometimes criticize the devotee by saying, if you do not want to take any benediction from the Lord, and if the servant of the Lord is as opulent as the Lord himself, why do you ask for the benediction of being engaged as the Lord's servant? Sridhar Swami comments, Bhagavat Saman Nashvar Bhagavat Vara means becoming as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead does not mean becoming one with him or equal to him. Although in the spiritual world the servant is equally as opulent as the master, the servant of the Lord is engaged in the service of the Lord as a servant, friend, father, mother, or conjugal lover, all of whom are equally as opulent as the Lord. This is Chintya Veda Veda Tattva. The master and the servant are different yet equal in opulence. This is the meaning of simultaneous difference from the Supreme Lord and oneness with him. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Sri Guru Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. My Lord, when a human being is able to give up the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. So this is a question, so I was put in the beginning of this purport. If you do not want to take any benediction from the Lord, and if the servant of the Lord is as opulent as the Lord himself, why do you ask for benediction to be engaged in the Lord's service, or as the Lord's servant? So it's almost like, yeah, I don't want anything, but if I become a servant, I'll get everything anyway. So it's almost a challenge just to say, you're just being a fly guy, you see you don't want anything, but you see you just want service, but you know that if you just get service, you get anything. The thing is, you can't cheat Krishna, because first of all, what's the first principle of Brahmacharya life? Nirmama, nothing is mine. Isn't that right, Jan? Yeah, Nirmama means nothing is mine, right? Nothing is mine. So in any ashram, actually, as a devotee, the first thing we have to learn is that nothing is mine, everything belongs to Krishna. Because he's the supreme proprietor. But the thing is that Krishna is, although the supreme proprietor, he's so detached, he's not attached to any of it. Therefore, in the Upanishad, it's mentioned the Lord is within everything and yet he's outside of everything. So, although the Lord pervades everything, he's not attached to it. So we can't fathom that, because as soon as we lay our grubby hands on something, then we claim it's ours, isn't it? Even as a child, just, that's mine, or I want this. You don't have to be trained up, it just comes naturally. Just like you see kids playing with toys. One child may be visiting another child, and then they're playing with the toys, and the kid who owns the toys, sometimes they just be possessive, you know, that's mine. So you gotta play with it, it doesn't matter, just establish that it's mine. And you show some gratitude for using it. You have to sign that toy out from the store. Yeah, we don't have to take any lessons on being attached or possessive, it's just natural, because we've been in this material world for so long, we just have a possessive mentality. Although Krishna is possessor of everything, he's actually not attached to it, which is amazing. That's an opulence. Of all the different opulences that people would want as a benediction, the one they generally don't ask for is to be detached, unless they're actually a devotee. So, when Arjuna says to Krishna, controlling the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. Does anyone remember Krishna's reply? Even if not exactly.
Only by surrendering to me,
Speak up.
only by surrendering to me you can control this, not control the mind.
Yeah, so Arjuna says it seems impossible to me, and Krishna says it is possible by simple practice and attachment. So what's that simple practice? Just anything you fancy. Japa.
Surrendering everything to the service of the Lord.
Yeah, all these things. And so suitable practice, which is recommended by the church.
It's going from radio to radio. I think it's going from radio to that. It's not eating as well. No?
For this. Yeah, suitable practice. So the spiritual master, he gets prescribed duties. And Prabhupada, he's the spiritual master of the whole Israel society. And everyone's following his directions, following his footsteps. Present day spiritual masters, they're representatives of Srila Prabhupada. Their spiritual masters are their own right, but they're not changing anything that Prabhupada gave. So this devotional service, the standards, etc., then they should not be deviated from. And as soon as there's a deviation, then those who are following it can see it. It's just like today I was doing some service in the data department, and I can see there was something there which had been somebody either forgotten or overlooked. They tried to improve one thing, but by doing that, they forgot about something else. So we always have to keep the principle in mind. If you get connected to the detail, if you're more concerned with the detail, we'll forget the principle. So, for example, in daily service, punctuality and cleanliness, these are the two most important things. That means in the efforts to make other improvements, we don't forget those basic things. And Prabhupada gave the standards, therefore, like Prabhupada's teachings, his books, are considered to be the law books that has gone for the next 10,000 years. And that's because Lord Chaitanya and the Sankirtan movement is prophesied to spread for the next 10,000 years. So I was wondering actually if this is the case that devotees don't want any benediction, they just want devotional service. And then this question is, well, why do you ask for the benediction of devotional service when you know that all opulence will come? The thing is, the devotees are also not attached to opulence. Devotees can accept it or not. Just like sometimes the devotees, maybe not so much now, because a lot of time the devotees have got their own income, but it used to be that everybody was completely dependent on the temple. They had nothing, really practices their mama principle, nothing is mine. And then you can really get a feeling for Krishna's mercy. So I remember one time I was doing door-to-door in Carlton, and this old couple, they wanted to give something, but they never had much. They had this old car quote, which must have been, I think it was given to them as a wedding present. And at that time, it would have been in the 90s, they were in their 80s probably. So it was probably given to them as a wedding present in 1940 or something. So they pulled out this old car quote. I thought, well, it's certainly something like that. It's probably not going to make it in the cycle of fashion coming back around again as, what do you call it, retro. It was it transcended retro. And, but then I thought, the old couple were so nice, I just wore it for years because I thought I wanted to engage them. And then it kind of wore out. And then my brother gave me some money to get a jacket. I got like a branded nice waterproof, and then someone started criticising, you were supposed to be, why are you wearing this such and such brand? He says, well, you weren't here last week when I was wearing like a 50-year-old car coat, that nobody would be seen dead in, really. So the thing is, the devotees, they're utilising the devotional service, they're not attached to whether it's fashionable or not. They're not attached to, it is the devotees' duty to look respectable when they're on the street, whether they're wearing dhoti, sari, or whether they're wearing Western clothes, then they should always be present themselves nicely, because we might be detached and might be prepared to go around in rags, but we're not representing a rag man, we're representing Srila Prabhupada and Guru Prabhupada Prana. So when we're out there, we shouldn't be looking like some kind of sloppy Joe. We may not be personally concerned with our appearance. And Prabhupada said also the devotees should have the best because they're doing the best activity. We don't have to accept some kind of voluntary vow of poverty in the sense that we will always looking like we want something. Although the devotees, because they are in the mood of trying to utilise everything to the nth degree in Krishna service, sometimes we will go around in threadbare clothes. And that's okay for personal detachment. But when we're representing them, we should represent ourselves smart. I remember one devotee asking Sri Brahmaswami about tilak. Should devotees wear tilak on the street? He says only if it's tidy. If it looks like some kind of crumbled up thing that a bird dropped on your face, then it just, it's not going to attract people, so you either don't have it or have it nice and neat. So if the ones like to wear tilak, take some with you and you can put it on nice and clean on the street. So whatever way we should be represented so that people don't find reason to criticise or mock. It's interesting enough though, because the devotees are so transcendental, they have no fashion sense. Remember once I was on Bell Street, and it was somewhat incognito doing Sankirtan, we were fundraising at the time. And this lady said, "Oh, you Hare Krishna?" I said, "Yeah, how did you know?" She says, "Because you've got no dress sense whatsoever." Wearing a long coat, with sandals, and a woolly hat, something like that. Thinking that we're alright. But the thing is, sometimes the devotees are either detached or oblivious. Not sure if they're the same thing. Probably not. Surely not. But the devotees, the point is that the devotees are not attached to getting that opulence of the Lord. In order to get that opulence, we see the example was given with Srimad Bhagavatam. So does anyone remember that story? Yeah, Sudama. So he was a childhood friend of Krishna. We went to school together, and he studied under Krishna's teacher, who was. Who's Krishna's teacher? Sandipani Muni. Okay, you need to read Krishna book. So Sandipani Muni, he asked Krishna and Sudama, his friend, to go and collect some firewood. So they went to the forest to collect firewood, but there was a terrible storm and they had to take shelter in the forest all night. And his dear friend gets to spend the whole night in the forest with him, and it becomes such a memorable thing. And then the next day, the Guru teacher, the Guru of Krishna and Sudama, then he came for them. They had been looking, but they found him the next day. In due course of time, they grew up and parted company. And Sudama was a great Brahmin, but he was a very poor Brahmin as well. But he never complained. He wasn't bitter about his poverty. But they were so poor that they practically had nothing to eat, nothing to wear. And Sudama's wife said to him, "Why don't you go and see your friend Krishna? He's a king in the war now, he's so opulent, he can give you something." He said, "No, I don't want anything from Krishna. I don't want to do that to Krishna, he's my friend." And But then, after some nagging, then he went. And as he was going, she said, "You can't go empty-handed." He said, "We've nothing to give." He says, "Take this rice." So there was some broken rice she put in a cloth, tied it in a little bag and stuck it in his waistband. And when he got to Dwarka, of course, Krishna being omniscient, then he knew Sudama was on his way there. But he plays the part of not knowing. He said, "Oh, Sudama, I'm friend, it's so many years since we've seen you come in." And because he's a Brahmin, then Krishna worshipped him. And Rukmini was also worshipping him. And Krishna says, "Have you brought something for me?" He says, "No, I didn't really." I don't know if he said that, but he didn't want to give this. He's thinking, well, how can I offer this to Krishna? This is such a futile offering. Krishna is surrounded by palaces and servants and so much offerings. How can I offer him this little pouch of broken rice? And Krishna says, I think you're hiding something. And he dips in and he gets this little bag. And he takes a grain of rice and he says, with this, the whole universe will be satisfied. And I think it was Rukmini also took some. I think it was. So she's also the goddess of fortune. So she benedicted him that he would have so much opulence. So after they spent some time together, then Sudama went back to his village, back to his house. But instead of the little mud hut he was in, there was a beautiful palace. There were servants milling around, and he got in. There was so much opulence there. But he never asked for that. He didn't even ask for anything, even though his wife had sent him. He didn't ask for anything. But Krishna gave him it. So this is the mood of the devotee, that they're not looking for anything, but Krishna will give because he knows that they won't become. Krishna is addressing Arjuna, saying that this single-mindedness, single-pointed determination, it doesn't take place in those who are attached to material opulence and sense enjoyment. But for those who become attached to the Lord's service, then that single-pointedness can be there. And so it's required to get out of this material world. We need the mercy of the spiritual master, we need the mercy of the Lord. We also have to make a single-pointed endeavour. And what's the other verse? It speaks about intelligence which is many-branched. I can't remember the rest of the verse. But it's kind of contrary to being single-pointed. One can be single-pointed in their determination, and the opposite would be our determination is many-branched. In other words, it's not a resolute determination. So this, just like at New Year time, people take a vow that they're going to do something, or they're going to stop something, and sometimes it doesn't even last past the first day. I'm going to give up smoking. How's that going? Well, I've managed 25 seconds so far. So in order to have that resolute determination, then we have to be clear of what our path is. What is that? What's the point of this determination? And we have to be properly motivated. If we're not properly motivated, then the determination won't take place. If our determination is that we're looking for some recognition, that's a form of sense gratification, isn't it? Sort of sense gratification. So can anybody mention any of the subtle aspects of sex life?
Mind is agitated, maybe like mind is like not really mind, like how do you say?
The specific things,
Uh,
there's four things actually, I'll just say. So,
Anger?
no, these are so look, say for example, one may give up gross sense gratification, gross sex life, but these more subtle things is name, fame, adoration, and gain. So we're looking for some name and fame. We want to go down in history as something, or while we're alive, or even after we're dead, we want our name to be carved in stone somewhere so people remember us. But where are we when that's been happening? Who knows us? Looking for some fame, popularity amongst folks. How valuable is that? Like you see, sometimes people are so famous, they've got millions of followers, but really, what are these followers? They're just people who are envying that person's position. I want to be that person. I want that person's wealth. I want that person's fame or their looks. But they don't know that that person also has troubles in life. Who doesn't have troubles in life? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. There's nobody on this planet who doesn't have these troubles. You take somebody who appears to be the most enviable position, they may be the most wealthy person, who can say if they're going to be here tomorrow? Whereas the devotees are in a better position because they've got this knowledge. So the opulence the devotees have is a knowledge which is transcendental to this material temporary manifestation. So if our determination is tinged with desire for name, fame, adoration, or gain, then it will be difficult to actually have ekiha, or single-pointed attention. So of course we don't come to this Krishna conscious movement as pure devotees, so therefore in the process of practicing this regulated devotional service we be purified. And this purification comes around by chanting the holy name of the Lord, because Krishna is pavitra, he's pure. When we chant the Lord's name, he's personally present. The Lord's name, Guna, Rupa, Namna, the Lord's qualities, his form and his name are not different. They're not any different from each other. So this is how we actually begin to see God as by devotional service. Then the Lord gradually reveals himself through the chanting of the holy name. And the service we do is an opportunity to become humble. Sometimes we think, well, nobody notices what service I'm doing. No, we can all think like that. Who can really appreciate us more than ourselves? We're the best person at appreciating ourselves, aren't we? But Krishna's within the heart. He sees, and he also sees if our motivation is true. And if it's not, then we simply just pray that we can become unmotivated in our devotional service, because that is going to sustain us. So it's important that the devotees learn the Shastakam, the 8 instructions of Lord Chaitanya. And this way we can find that the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is contained within these. So what we're speaking about, this name, fame, adoration, and gain, is also there. Nadanam Hajanam Nasundarim, Kaptamajagachkame, Namadhanami, Jananishri Bhakti Bhakti. So here the Lord is talking about unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service. So prior to that, he's saying that one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, if one chants in the proper state of mind. So what's that proper state of mind? Puffed up. We hear this word, but we don't really know what it means. Sometimes we do find out what it means. It means that we have to put aside our false ego. And remember where we came from as well. If we forget where we came from, then we start to think in a different type of false ego. Forgetting the false ego of the past, but creating a new false ego. I remember one devotee, he was very proud that he knew so many slokas. I remember him, he said, it was just a few years ago he didn't know any Sanskrit at all, but now all of a sudden, within a couple of years, he became better than everybody. So how is that helping your shenanigans in that mood? So we have to try to be practical. And every day we get opportunities to try to practice this opportunity to offer respect to others without expecting respect for ourselves. Can we even try it? We can try and just see how it works. And we'll find that it's such a relief. Our false ego is just always trying to get some mileage, isn't it? Check me out. Well, you don't check me out, you don't care. Usually means we don't care, we just want people to care for us. And someone might care for you, but ultimately, you know, that's temporary. Krishna is the one who's a relishing friend, eternal friend. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, of all the Bhutanams, of all living entities, he's the well-wishing friend. And not just a well-wishing friend, but Suridam. He's the best friend of all the living entities. Sometimes you look at the material world and you see so many living entities just struggling alone, trying to survive out there. And who cares for them? They don't have a name. Nobody cares if they get squashed on the road. So many living entities. Who cares for some tree standing alone in a forest? You know, that jiva. Krishna's actually a great living entity. So with Krishna as the best friend of all living entities, and ultimately they're all going to get benefit. And this Sankirtan movement is described by Lord Chaitanya and Sri Shastakam as pride and benediction for humanity at large. It's the best benefit for all living entities. And because there's nothing which the living entities can get, which is getting any lasting substance. So although, for example, we for living entities by giving out food, we're not simply giving out food. If we wanted to give out food, we could align ourselves with other big charities, get loads of huge grants. We had opportunities before, but they don't even serve food which is offerable. So we get a percent, which means we don't even care whether the people appear to be materially impoverished or whatever, because prasadam, you can give it to the most wealthy people. It's a spiritual charity, which is purified food stuff. When we offer food to Krishna, it's not different from Krishna, so we're giving them Krishna. So this is the charity which is not comparable with any charity in the material world. This is called Sarva Upaka, the highest welfare work. And by taking prasad, people become purified. When they hear the Harinam, they become attracted. Or when they see a devotee with the book, then they become inquisitive. So Prabhupada referred to prasadam as your secret weapon. They don't even know they're getting purified. Normally, if someone has a secret weapon, then everybody wants to know what is that secret. So hopefully that time will come. And sometimes it happens, it's like we have sometimes volunteers who come and they may have had kitchen for the last 2 months and say, no, that thing, you look the recipe for it. And then so you give them the recipe. And then you hear back from them, we tried to cook this, but it's just not the same. Yeah, because you forgot to add the other ingredient. What's that? LND. LSD? No. LND, love and devotion. So this is the thing with all our activities, we try to not just whatever we eat. Krishna says that yat kroshi dashna siya jyosi dasa yat. Whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away in charity, do it as an offering to me. So this is the training of the devotee. We have to train our mind that am I doing this for Krishna, am I doing it for me? If I'm doing it for me, then I'm going to have to give that up because that's some selfish motivation. And ultimately, when we do surrender to doing it for Krishna, it's such a relief because we're not having to maintain this burden of false ego. What do people think of me? Nothing. I'm too busy thinking what other people are thinking of them. We're so concerned about what people think of us, but they probably think a lot better of us than we think they do anyway. Because we just yesterday I was speaking with one devotee, and I was trying to encourage that person to tolerate, bearing in mind that that person is probably tolerating them. Sometimes it's when we're tolerating others, we find it difficult to see it from the other side that that person is probably having tolerated me as well. But if we can understand that we're being tolerated, the fact that nobody's beating us up or taking us by the scruff of the neck and the seat of the pants and throwing us down the hill, means that there's some toleration going on. And this is in a family, tolerance has to be there because you're living together in the same house. So this Krishna conscious movement is a big family. And we may have our favourites, we may have our ones that we prefer to avoid, but ultimately the common denominator in a family is mother and father. The common denominator in Krishna consciousness is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his bona fide representatives. And this common denominator is this mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this devotional service. And if we can appreciate that others are giving up their time voluntarily to serve Krishna, none of us have to be here, we choose to be here. If we can appreciate that that person is trying in their present circumstances the best they can, then that appreciation helps us not only to tolerate, it kind of nullifies the need to tolerate. When the deeper the appreciation is, then there's not even a question of tolerance. You don't have to, this is how we learn to tolerate, by appreciating. Of course, there's some things which can't be tolerated. You know, if someone comes into the temple and starts preaching Mayabad philosophy, we don't tolerate that. We don't say, oh, that's okay, everything's one. Yes, go ahead and say that. We don't argue with him. No. We wouldn't tolerate it. We say, no, it's nonsense. Not only don't speak about it, but don't speak about it here. Or somebody walks into the temple with their shoes on. No, we wouldn't tolerate that. We'd say, sorry, this can't happen. Get out. But at the same time, we have to learn to tolerate, and if something which has to be said, then we have to try to do it the best way possible. So the devotee becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like the Lord's. And in the spiritual world, the devotees have that opulence and that wealth, but they are not attached to it, but they utilize, because they learn to utilize it in Krishna service, then it's not poison to them, it's not distraction. Sometimes, if we are really attached, then to begin with, we may want to just have nothing, have no possessions, so we can actually sometimes we have to give up possessions of our old life so that we can start afresh. But the real thing to give up is this false sense of proprietorship, because all we do is just build up new possessions again. You one devotee who had giving up everything, he just lived in 2 poly bags in the ashram, and he'd go and travel Sankirtan, he'd everything in 2 poly bags. But then in due course of time, Prabhupada said, like, because of our nature in the material world, just It's like they say the Rolling Stone gathers no moss. So if a stone stays in one place, especially in Scotland, we see moss will grow over it very quickly. So similarly, if we remain in one place, then things start to accumulate around us. It's just in nature. So the type of renunciation of actually having nothing physically is a lesser type of renunciation than having an understanding that actually nothing belongs to me, it belongs to Krishna. It's like we use it in Krishna service. That way we don't have to give it up. We can use anything in Krishna service practically. If someone donates a helicopter, right, what would we do with it? We maybe go up above the city and just start passing out thousands of leaflets. I would sell it and buy loads of books to distribute. So things can be used in Krishna service as long as it doesn't become a burden and a distraction. Like the Sanktan mood is that we try to engage whatever someone gives, even if someone gives 1 penny. We know the person could give lots more than that, but we think, okay, they think sometimes people will give you a small donation as an insult. You've experienced that. So anyway, but we don't care because we'll take it personally and think, okay, that's great. Let me just, at least you started giving, and we use that penny in Krishna service. So we win. There's this story of the sannyasi. So a sannyasi has a vesh, a cloth, which goes around his neck, and that's meant for begging, because particularly sannyasi is meant to be a dead social person, with no social connections, and no possessions like that. So the sannyasi was going door to door, and they put out their begging cloth, and people who were conversing with the Vedic society set up, then they would give some small thing, and after going around a few doors, then the renunciant has enough to eat. But like we see also in the first canto now, the Muni would be doing that. But the purpose of it was going to beg some milk or some fruits. The purpose of it wasn't just to fill the belly, the purpose was, by the pretext of going begging, they get to give some transcendental knowledge. Prabhupada mentions that renunciants should be a burden on society. So people who are just simply taking benefits from society, they become indebted. If a devotee is getting some benefits and then they're doing devotional service, they're paying back. So we have to be careful that whatever we're taking, that we're giving back at least equally. Otherwise we become indebted and we have to pay that debt sometime in the future. So this sannyasi was going door to door, and this man came to the door and he didn't want to give anything, but then he said, oh, actually hold on a second, I'll go get something. He came back and he put some ashes in his sannyas cloth, and then the sannyasi thanked him. He says, why are you thanking me? You've just insulted. He said, at least you've started to give. So in this way, the devotee spreads some higher knowledge. And because Prabhupada said this international society for Krishna consciousness is a movement of Paramahamsas, so that means if we're actually following it properly, then we're not limited to this Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Pastor Sannyas, or Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmin. We're not limited to that. So this is the inheritance. We follow the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Acharya means one who teaches by example. So if we learn their living example and we start to imbibe that in our life, then this is our inheritance as well. So finally, in purport, Prabhupada says that the master of the seven are equally opulent. And you would think, well, how can that be? In the material world, the master is always opulent, the servant is always poor. And just kind of hanging on for the remnants of the master. But here it's because the mood is always to accept the Supreme Lord as the master, then regardless of whatever opulence the devotees have, because they use everything in Krishna's service, then they never think this is mine and I'm competing with God in some way. I've got the same opulence as God. In fact, maybe I should have more. I should have his as well. This would be the demonic mentality. This is why the material world is full of so many competitors who are trying to accumulate the property of God, call it their own, for a few short years, then leave behind to some other living entity who they might call their offspring. But really what's it all amount to in the end is futile. Okay, so we'll stop there. Any questions or comments?
The thing about what you said about attachment to devotional service, and I'm wondering about attachment to particular services. Although we can be quite happy with sometimes with whatever service that we have, but the attachment to other services that we might be good at, that we really are happy doing. Is that wrong? Should we just not be attached to like particular services, or is that kind of okay?
Well, it's not that we shouldn't be happy doing service, and we may become attached to it, but at the same time, we should be attached to the principle of devotion service, because what if you're good at doing something and then it doesn't really require much devotion to do? Like, for example, some people might be good at selling things, so going on in the street selling books, for example, might be a breeze for them, but when you ask them to stay back and wash the pots, then it does remind them to do somersaults for them. I've seen that, and vice versa. Someone might be quite happy situated doing one service, but and it's not always that we can be given a service which is suited to our nature, because we don't even know what nature is. We have a temporary nature, and if we simply just try to satisfy the temporary nature without any extra endeavour, then we become comfortable in that, and that can become a bit of a problem. And sometimes Krishna will blow the wind of change, and that's when we're tested. Are you actually attached to serving me, or is it simply doing this because you worked out a nice little comfortable situation, which is, the ropes? In any case, whatever service we're doing, we try to improve on it, and that way we don't become too comfortable in the material world. But Krishna's thing is that we shouldn't try to be comfortable in this material world, and if in our devotional service we become comfortable in the material world, then that'll be a different challenge later on. So even if you're doing the same service every day, you try to look, how can I do it better? And even if materially we're doing it as good as we can see, and we're praying, well, how can I do it with a better attitude, a better mood? So I remember one time I did my best score in Sanctum, it was in Union Street in Aberdeen, and I realised that even though I had done quite a big score, I could see practically an unlimited opportunity for improving it, because there's so many lost opportunities even within that. Normally, if I had done like a fraction of that score, I'd been thinking I had a good day. But as my service opportunities increased, I realised there's unlimited room for expansion here. And that's also kind of depending on our desire to try to serve in the right mood. So Sankirtan is very good for that, because you can always see room for improvement. Things you could have said. A devotee's Sankirtan dream would be that you go to a place and everybody is happy to see you and they're all lining up to take books. But I haven't been to that place yet. So we have a few places where it was certainly a lot less people saying no, a lot of people saying yes. But at the same time, even though I did my biggest score, there's someone who's next to me who did like 3 times. So I'm thinking, that person there is showing me straight away that there's much more room for improvement. And even they felt there was room for improvement. So whatever we're doing, even if we're sweeping the same floor every day, there's always going to be the challenge of nobody's watching, I can just miss that corner, or I don't have to move that thing that's been behind it. But the challenge is never to get into that mode of ignorance, just like, no, I'm going to do it properly.
Krishna will see it. Krishna will see even when nobody else does.
Yeah, Krishna's in my heart. And we see also we'll just finish with this, the pastime of Gundicha Marjanam, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. So Lord Chaitanya and his associates, before the Jagannath deities were coming from Jagannath temple to the Gundicha temple, the Lord Chaitanya's associates went in there to clean it. So they thought they'd cleaned it, and then Lord Chaitanya says no. They started having a competition to see who could clean the most. So even after they cleaned it, and still they were cleaning and cleaning. And not in order to show the devotees that Lord Chaitanya was better than them, it's like, oh, I can collect more dirt than you, it wasn't there some new thing, but to show there's unlimited room. When you think the place is clean, you get even more dirt out of the place. And the Lord, he actually had more dirt than everyone combined, because his consciousness was such that he couldn't see anything which wasn't perfectly clean as being suitable for the Lord. So just when you think you can't go any further, then we're trying to just pray, how can I do my service better? And the attitude can always be better than the service.
I've heard that in Govardhana, everyone's taking a book. When you go to Govardhana, everyone's taking a book there. When you go to spiritual world, everyone's taking a book.
The spiritual world.
Yes, everyone's always eager to hear about Krishna. So
I don't know if they have books in there.
no.
But for a devotee who's given out books, then they're certainly going to be well looking for them and fastly. It's a difficult service to do sometimes. It can present many challenges, but that's also means that one can make advancement very quickly. Of course, look, everyone's interested in Krishna, so if you had books, then everybody would want books about Krishna. We should be careful also not to develop this mood of, I've heard that pastime before, I don't need to hear it again, I need something new. Because Krishna is never Yovana, he's eternally youthful, he's eternally new, effervescent. So that means you can hear the same pastime day after day. Just like one of the was telling me yesterday that his gran or his mother, I think it was gran, read the Mahabharata at least 100 times. And the Mahabharata is not just like some little paperback book, and in mine. So that means that you can read these things forevermore. Because the Lord is unlimited, you've got unlimited depth of realization. It's going to be the key. Bad key. Krishna Bhagavatam key.